Alright guys, this video is designed to help you out with the matching activity here on 15.1. So we're looking at this, and each one of these equations that you have, A, B, C, D, E, F, has a solution that matches over here to the side. So we just have to find out which one matches which. I do not just want arrows pointing over. I would like to see what you did to get the answer. So for example, A, they're multiplying some number times 1/2 to equal -5. So by thinking of the way that we've thought this past week or so, is that we can find the solution by dividing -5 and 1/2. We can think of it like that. That would be what we do to get our answer, because if we can multiply x and 1/2 to get 5, then their quotient should tell us what the answer is. And we don't like to divide fractions. We multiply by the reciprocal. So this is really the same as -5 times 2 over 1, or 2. And -5 times 2 is -10. So this one right here matches A. Number 3 matches A. There are other ways to think about that. There are some people that just know to multiply by 2, because the opposite of multiplying by 1/2 is multiplying by 2. So it's kind of like an inverse. It's the same thing as dividing by 1/2, as you can see. So that's another way to think about these types of problems. If you look at B, it's the same thing. We got some number multiplied by -2 to get -9. So all we want to do is find out what x is. So we should be able to just divide -9 by -2. And when you do that, and that's the same as multiplying -9 times -1/2. So you can see why you would get 9 times 1 on the numerator, 1 times 2 in the denominator. This is the same as 9 over 2. And I'll show you over here. 9 over 2 will go into 2 will go into 9 4 times, with a remainder of 1. So it's the same as 4.5. And since we were dividing two negatives, we know it's going to be positive 4.5, which is why we want to pick this one right here, 4. Alright, and then C, working through number C here, we have another multiplication by 1/2. We saw earlier that to get rid of multiplication by 1/2, you can divide by 1/2, which is the same as multiplying by 2. So the problem I'm going to set up is I'm just going to do 1/4 multiplied by 2 over 1. And it's negative, so it's a negative times a positive, which means I'm going to get a -2 over 4, which is the same as -1/2. And that would match number 2. So this one is C. Alright, move on to the next one. They're multiplying by -2. So I could multiply by its reciprocal, 1/2, and that would make it go away. Or I could divide by 2, whichever one you find easier to do. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to take 7 and multiply by -1/2, the reciprocal of 2 over 1. And what's half of 7? Well, that's -3 when you multiply a positive times a negative. So D matches up with number 6. And looking at the next one, I have some addition. So anytime that you're adding a negative number to your solution, you could counter that with the additive inverse. So what's the opposite of adding -2? We could take -6.5 and just add a regular 2, and then use our rules to see that, okay, the negatives are going to win here by 4.5. So -4.5, which is this one up here. And by process of elimination, this last one must be 2.5. And -2 plus 2.5 would end up at just a regular half. So there we go. There are the match problems.